Hi, I'm Dr. Sadhna Bokhiria, and this is Leader Voices, a show about leaders and their infinite ability to change the world. Each episode in Leader Voices, we dig into stories and sparks from for-purpose leaders, coaches, comedians, luminaries, and everyday heroes from around the globe. Tales of impact and failing forward, of aspirations and innovations, and the infinite and inspiring ways that social purpose leaders lead and make the world a better place. Join us today as we introduce a new guest. Today on Leader Voices, I am super excited to invite Chelsie Bruggeman. She's the mother of two little boys and the founder and CEO of an incredible organization called Momentum. Her mission is to support mothers in the workforce who are transitioning from those really incredible first 5 years, right? 0 to 5 years old. And what her organization does is essentially focus on supporting those moms when they're going through this incredible transition in their lives. Chelsie is not only a mom of two little boys and the CEO of this incredible organization, but she's also a rainmaker. In the fundraising sector, she has raised over $15 million for Arizona University alone, which resulted in the establishment of numerous scholarships, educational opportunities, and initiatives, all thanks to her incredible rainmaking skills. It's always good to have a rainmaker in your circle, guys, to make it rain. This year, and I'm so proud of you, she joined Phoenix Business Journal's very exclusive 40 Under 40 Club, being recognized for extraordinary achievements in the educational and philanthropy sector. Through Momentum, Chelsie fosters community, resources, and professional development, aiming to enhance mothers' economic security during what we call matrescence. Something that we're going to dive deep into, and a word that she taught me that I'm really excited about. Everything about Chelsie embodies resilience, compassion, and steadfast dedication to empowering women in all facets of life. Please join me in welcoming Chelsie to Leader Voices.
Yay! Thank you so much, Sadhna. You are so wonderful, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. No, we're so excited to have you. So tell me, just start from the beginning, where did you begin and what really got you into higher ed, specifically fundraising?
Yeah, I am. I think Sadhna and I share this quality of overachievers, right? And higher ed was just a place that I thrived in my college years. It made sense. I really appreciated the pats on the back every time I got that A, right? The validation that it came from.
Are you into gold stars?
I love gold stars. I'm trying so hard to stop loving gold stars. I need to stop collecting them because they're not intrinsic, but it's a lesson I will forever be learning. But yes, higher education was a place of gold stars for me, and I collected them. So I have 3 degrees from ASU. I loved ASU. I had a great experience there. I got my very first job at ASU, and I was managing scholarships. And I was managing 2 private scholarship programs. So a donor would fund a group of students, and the donor would also fund my salary to make sure that I helped this group of students progress through their collegiate years. And these students were at high risk for a lot of reasons. And talk about overachievers. They're also overachievers at the highest level. So I was that person that they could call on if there was any issue with, the registrar's office or just managing this first-time experience of being at a huge university. It was so incredibly gratifying. One of the programs, I'll name drop them, Amy Armstrong and the Armstrong Foundation, and her father-in-law, Jim Armstrong, which founded the Armstrong Scholars. And I remember asking one of the students that I was working with, an outstanding student, if you met this young man, you'd be like, what do you need? I will give it to you. Let's make this happen for you. And he wanted to study abroad, but he already exhausted all his scholarship support. And I don't, this is not how the system works. And I learned this now, but I asked Jim Armstrong, a wonderful, wonderful philanthropist. I said, Jim, so-and-so really wants to study abroad. The program's about $9,872. And I think he's worthy. And Jim's like, yeah, we'll do that. And I was just like, wait, this is how the world works? Like you just ask for things and there's people out there that will say yes. So although it was an incredibly gratifying career because I got to do life-changing work with amazing, young, powerful, change-making students through the power of philanthropy, it was another world, Sadhna, of gold stars. It was another world of gold stars. It was, right? Hey, Chelsie, can you raise $1 million? Yes, I can. And I'll double that. So there was very strict.
Yes. Take a minute. That's amazing. You say it so casually. I mean, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's how I got into higher ed. It's how I stayed in higher ed because they kept putting goals in front of me that I could achieve. And I worked for ASU for 12 years. Actually longer than.
Did it feel really fast or did you feel like it was like?
No, it's my whole youth. My whole adult life as I know it today.
So let me ask you something. So what's interesting to me is you're an entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. But even in your career, you were essentially an entrepreneur because part of your ask is your salary. So if they don't fund, it's like your position is tied to that. And I know that's common in the nonprofit space. And it's kind of unfortunate because you shouldn't have to have that lack of security and you're doing such incredible work. But how does that kind of connect with the entrepreneurial mindset when you actually have a full-time job, right?
In my job, there's lots of different types of fundraisers, and everybody does it differently, and everybody, I think, does it right. And you kind of figure out your brand. And that's, I think, where the entrepreneurial piece came in, where I figured out that, yes, I am selling the idea of changing lives and the idea of supporting somebody through higher education and the economic impact that will have on our society at large. Mm-hmm. But I'm really selling my trust. And, if I could say my number one superpower, it is building trust. I care about people deeply. Sometimes that gets me into trouble. But I care about people really deeply. So that is how I present myself as a fundraiser. And when I'm talking to a philanthropist or a future philanthropist, maybe they don't give right now, but they have maybe the possibility to give in their future. It's really figuring out what they want. What do you, Sadhna, what gold stars do you want? Do you want to be a philanthropist when you grow up?
My gold stars are very similar to your gold stars in that I am all about that dopamine hit. It's like, yes, got it, nailed it. Ask me to do this. Let me try and do it 10 times more just to show you how,
Yeah. So Sadhna, I would build deep trust with you, which I think we have. And then I would know that about you. And so you said, I know what you want to accomplish in this world. Could you put that towards, a student just starting off, right? And then you would say, and I'd ask you for 10,000. You say, well, I want to double that because that's the passion you are. And,
look at you. So, you're selling to me on my show.
Oh, yeah. So when you're ready to start your scholarship, Sadhna.
That is so awesome. So tell me more about Momentum. I love the name, love the idea. It's it's unfortunate that I'm saying this, but it's so innovative and I've never heard of anything like it. But as soon as you shared it with me, I'm like, what? Like, yeah, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I'm so freaking excited about going full time with this. So we already figured out my type A personality. And I think 7 years ago, when my first son was brought into this world, the goals I had set for myself, the focus I had on my career, the external validation that fueled me dissipated. I In fact, I left my maternity leave early because I had this beautiful child in my arms that I didn't know how to take care of. I felt very insecure. I felt very incompetent. I knew how to be an employee. I knew how to get things done. I did not know how to be a mom. And I was incredibly insecure about that, which I think most moms are. And you learn with your baby. That's how it works. But I thought that I would deliver my beautiful son and then I would know what to do. And turns out you don't. So I left maternity leave early actually to go back to work because that was in a space I could control, I could perform in versus at home. I didn't know what I was doing. I look back and I really want to hug that version of myself, right? That was a really insecure version of myself. So fast forward, I have another son who was born May 2020. And I don't know what you were doing May 2020, but I was crying, isolated, alone, scared out of my mind, having to go to the hospital telling me, doctors telling me if I introduced my son to my parents, right? They're his grandparents, that I would be risking everybody's death, right? So it got to a point where I just felt like every decision I was making was a life or death decision, whether that is, do I order takeout? Life or death, right? Do I go visit my mom who, gosh, in those early years, you need a community of women, or those early days, right? You just need people to wrap around you, especially when you have, at this point, I had a 3-year-old who is a lot.
Wait, so tell me, your pandemic 2020, you have 2 kids.
Yes.
And how old are they?
They were 3 and an infant.
Oh my gosh. And
I kept telling myself, but by the time my maternity leave is over, the world will go back to normal, right? We'll be back.
And how long is maternity leave?
It was 12 weeks. It was 12 weeks. And I also want to mention that my first maternity leave, unpaid. I'm really proud of my organization to switch that the second one was paid, which I'm really grateful for. But my first one was unpaid, right? So I was, how old was I? 29. To take 12 weeks of unpaid leave is hard on a family.
That's significant.
And I've said all this story without mentioning, I have a really amazing partner in this, a good father, but when you're in the throes of all of it, we were not our best selves. So all to say, hard. So I became stupid obsessed with the lack of resources that exist for moms, because I'm thinking, here I am with a good partner, a true partner. I am white, educated in America. I am upper middle class. I have both sets of grandparents in my life, and they're active in my kids' life. I have every single privilege there is to raise my children. And this is the hardest thing I have ever done. And I couldn't help but think, what the hell are other mothers doing?
Right.
What the hell are single moms doing? How are you doing this? And I just began offering services that was just, reaching out to moms that I knew were struggling. We would host workshops and community building, mainly in daycares. And this is kind of where it all began, because I just, I knew that what I needed was community. I needed understanding. And I knew that my identity, which I'm growing and I'm shifting and I'm proud of, but I knew my identity was really focused on my career. And I believe it's powerful. It's very powerful for women to stay in the workforce for their economic security, right? So I recognized too that it was near impossible for me to stay in the workforce. Like, there were many, many, many conversations I had with my husband about, like, this is untenable. This is unsustainable. Something has got to give. And how unfortunate, right? For me, who wants to contribute, who wants to earn their own money, who wants to be a leader in organizations and make policies for other future employees, right? And I was being, I was being pushed out, and I wasn't being pushed out by my employer. My employer did everything they could. It's the system. It's just impossible. So that's where Momentum was built, where I started building community of working moms who understood each other. We're not here to give advice. I have no advice. This is hard, but rather build community and build professional and personal development tools and skills so that you can be the best mom you can be, the best business leader you can be, the best person, right? So if you look at yourself holistically, if you're happy with how you perform as a mother, or actually, I take those words back. I don't want to say perform as a mother because that's not what this is, right? Motherhood is not a performance. But if you're happy with the way you show up for your children, I think you're going to do a better job in the workforce. If you're supported and you know your values and you work hard in the workforce, you're going to show up differently and hopefully better for your children at the end of the day too, rather than being exhausted and burning the candle at both ends, which is exactly what I was doing. And I crashed and burned. As we do.
I have so many questions. So walk me through how so right now you have 2 kids, right?
I do. Yeah. And I am so done. 2 kids is the max.
And now how old are they?
7 and 4.
Okay. So super, super young. They have needs, right? You still have to feed them.
So many needs.
Water, shelter, all this stuff that they expect from you. And you launched your, company. And now do you feel like you have more of the balance? Because I have one son, he's 7. No, he's 9. He used to be 7, but now he's 9. The last 2 years are kind of blurry. Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, I have one, and I just wonder, when does it sounds like you know what you're doing and you have this balance. So I'm just wondering, what can I do to have that balance? And you have 2, so it's even more, stunning.
Thank you. All moms are stunning. All moms are doing it. It's just, if you want a problem solved, hand it to a mom. Holy moly. No, I don't have balance. But here's what I do have. I have intentional imbalance, where some days I have to give it to my job, right? Because that's fueling me. That's what's driving me. That's what keeps me, me. And I'm grateful for that version of myself and the role model I believe I'm showing up for my kids as. So some days I can't do the pickup. I have to miss the baseball game. When I get the inevitable call that your kid has a fever, I have to call my mom or my husband saying, hey, can somebody go pick up the kid? And that's painful, right? When your kid's sick, everything in me wants to run to them. But some days I can't. And then there's other days that I leave at 3. I pick them up, we go get ice cream. I don't look at my phone for the rest of the evening. We take vacations where none of us are working. It's intentional imbalance. And I think what is so important is knowing your values and standing in your values. And knowing that when I'm leaning into my values, I know that I feel good and secure, even if that means I'm taking away from my kids' time at that moment, right? Because I'm being the role model. I'm showing them how to show up for themselves, how to contribute to society in a meaningful way, how to give it all, to work hard into something. And I think those are really important values. My mom was a business owner herself. She worked so hard. And I keep looking back at everything she did. I'm like, how did you do this without Amazon? Yeah. How did you do this without Uber Eats? It's unbelievable. But the amount of work that she put in, but I think about instilled that in me, dedicating yourself to something is important. And especially as a woman raising 2 young sons, I want them to see me as a contributing member to a woman that really got stuff done in community and in her business.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love the concept of kind of a purposeful, imbalance, and just embracing the fact that there is chaos. It's like controlled, uncontrolled chaos kind of concept. What about
so much chaos?
When I think about the first, I'd say 3 or 4 years, my son, not sleeping in particular, I was a raging lunatic. Okay.
Yeah.
I was not kind. I felt like, and I say this lightly, trying to be, a little bit lighthearted on the comedy side of it. But honestly, like there were moments where it felt like I was having an actual like mental breakdown, and they weren't like far between, right? They were constant, where it was like, oh my gosh, I can't think straight. Like fight or flight, really. And
yes,
it was awful. I mean, just terrible. And even just this morning, I was cuddling with my son, and I thought, if only I knew how much time I wasted worrying about things when you were younger, because I was so worried about all these things, Are we going to be okay? How am I going to get this promotion at the office? Are they going to take me seriously now that I'm a mom? Or even when I was on maternity leave, I'm like, is someone else going to take my job now? Because now, I'm not there. There's so much anxiety, lack of presence. I feel like the first couple of years, it's like I was there, but I was not there because I was just here. So what type of, specific support for mental health during those 0 to 5? I mean, I feel like we're all kind of crazy during that time. What do you do?
I am so with you. I didn't fight or flight. I just collapsed. I hid. I buried. And I had horrible sleepers. And I showed up every day to work on time, just absolutely drained, exhausted, totally inept, right? I was just incapable of doing anything. But to me, I thought the value was me in my seat at 8 o'clock, right? Because that's what I had done before my kids existed. So again, in Momentum, my goal is never to give advice, because I really believe that all moms are one, capable, resourceful, and whole. I learned that through the proactive training resource. And that it's my job just to help you understand what is best for you. Because what's best for me is not going to be what's best for you, what's working for you. And no mom in the entire world needs to be told, you know what you should do.
Oh, yeah.
I want to scream.
I'm cringing with you.
So my goal is to sit down with that individual mom that's not sleeping and acknowledge they're hard. Just sit in their presence and say, yeah, yes, this is freaking hard. And then to figure out strategies that's going to work with them to master the life that they're building, right? So for me, what I ended up doing, and that's why I started with what I did, what might not work for you, and that's okay. And we'll figure out. One, I suffered immensely, and I don't want that for anybody. I don't. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but I had extreme postpartum depression. And I know a lot of it was because of my lack of sleep. There's a lot of contributors, but when you're not sleeping, I'm done. I'm incapable. Sure. But I kind of would keep hitting that dig deep button and show up to work with nothing left. I would just keep digging deep, even though there was nothing there to dig anymore. And eventually I broke. So now the more mature, wiser, experienced version of myself would have told that Chelsie, okay, why do you need to be there at 8? Because your boss said so. Okay, does your boss recognize that you're waking up every 2 hours in the middle of the night? What if we come in later? What if husband drops off kiddo at daycare while you take an extra hour of sleep and then you get your butt going to the work? What if you leave every day at 3 to take a nap before you go pick up your kid, and then you answer your emails or whatever you need to do, while your kid's asleep at 7 p.m. because babies sleep early. Whatever it is, I have no, and then, actually, this is really what I want to say. And Sadhna, this is the big piece that I want to do under Momentum. We have to advocate for ourselves. We have to tell the truth. We have to explain to our employers how I hate that we have to do that, but the value that we hold and how we are not going to be able to show up in the way that we have been for a little bit. And we're worth the investment, right? We are worth the investment. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to give it my all. But those hours that I was working don't exist anymore. And I promise you, on the other end of this, I am a loyal, happy, content employee. But right now, I am not serving you by showing up at 8 a.m. and barely being able to read my computer because I'm so exhausted. Under Momentum, I also hope to support businesses in advocating for women that are going through matrescence. And matrescence is the physical and emotional transition into motherhood. And it's just as volatile as adolescence, if not more, because the stakes are a little bit higher because you're responsible for a living being that needs you every second of the day. So how can I help employers understand that so that we retain women and young women in the workforce? 1 in 5 women leave the workforce after having their first baby. What a shame to lose out on 20% of talented, capable women who are missing out on 5 years worth of 401k investment, leadership development, trainings, promotions, confidence in the workforce. I don't want that. I don't want that for our community.
Sure. This concept of matrescence, which I really appreciate you adding to my vocabulary, it makes perfect sense. I saw an image at the Phoenix Sky Harbor. They have it's essentially like an art gallery, an art museum. And there's this image of a woman who's pregnant. And the subtitle is talking about this. It is matrescence. They just didn't put the word there, but it's a transition in a woman's life where there's no going back. Like you can never, ever go back. You're pregnant and you're about to have, your baby, but there's nothing that can prepare you for that. You can read, you can watch all the movies, all that stuff. You can talk to other mothers, but that moment, there's just absolutely nothing going back. And so it's really perfect with adolescence and this transition into, that coming of age moment going into adulthood from childhood. And so I really appreciate you shedding light to this concept of what it means, even from just a physical perspective, your body changing and recognizing that you are no longer just you, it's always you. And then now you have your baby. So incredible.
Yeah, it's a renegotiation. It's a renegotiation with who you are. It's a renegotiation with who you're going to be at work. It's a renegotiation with who you're going to be with your partner. It's a renegotiation with your body. You're like, oh, this is different. You're renegotiating your time. As I was going through, and I think I'm still going through, my youngest is 4, and I think this is a long process, but as I've been going through my postpartum depression, I think one of the tools that's been helpful to me is I've had to mourn the Chelsie that existed before. I had to grieve. I had to be sad, be angry, go through those 5 stages of grief, understanding that she's gone. She's gone. And I love her and she got me to where I am today. But God, I miss, just doing what I wanted when I wanted.
Yeah. Sleeping all day. Sleep all day. You can watch, let's say you wanted to watch Godfather 1, 2, and 3. And you're like, that's what I'm doing this weekend. No one's going to stop me. Like that will never really happen again unless you schedule it. And it's like a thing where it's like your kids are somewhere. But I miss that.
I miss that. I'm really into yoga and I just hate that for me to get to yoga, which is a 60-minute activity. I think that's very real. For me to get there, I have to move heaven and earth and be like, okay, husband, are you here? Oh, you aren't here because you have that thing. Okay, well, let me hire this babysitter. Oh, babysitter's not available. Okay, can grandma come over? Oh, no. Okay, well, and actually this weekend I went to yoga. I brought the kids, sat them there, gave them their iPads. I'm like, I am not missing yoga. But yeah, right. I just want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But that is gone. And I also know it'll come back. It'll come back. And then when it's back, I'm going to miss this, right? And that's annoying too. Will always be. So it's just about being present in the moment, knowing that this is it. There's no other journey I can be on except for this very one.
Sure, sure. So tell me a little bit about policies and advocacy. So you talked about advocacy and how important it is for new moms to really focus on advocating for themselves in terms of just communicating simple things. Like, do I need to be killing myself to the point where I'm getting there at 8? When you can do small things to really show that self-care and that self-love, like taking a nap or just giving yourself an extra hour in the morning. What specific policies or advocacy efforts are you involved in to better support working mothers?
There's hundreds. And we have seen a really beautiful shift, I think. And I think COVID launched us in that right direction with all the bad that came through that. There has been some beautiful things. For example, my organization offered maternity leave for the first time starting in 2020. They didn't do that prior. Paternity leave. I think we recognize that a stay-at-home parent has the hardest job in the world, and that there needs to be some economic support there. So we can't just expect people to take 12 weeks off of work. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. Who's going to do that? If you can't afford to take 12 weeks off, you're not going to do it.
So you're going to drop your tiny infant off at some sketchy daycare because you have no other options, or you quit your job and you lose out on the market, on the talented workforce. Because don't ask a woman to choose between their child and their job. That's an easy choice. It's a painful choice, but I would choose my children every day. I'd be miserable, but I would choose them.
That's difficult because even if you choose your job, I would choose my job. And when I say I would choose my job, I would say I would choose being like an income earner, because I see it as like a long-term, I have to do, it's not really a choice. It's like, I have to do this now. Otherwise we don't have, everything we need. He won't have everything that he needs. So in that time frame, it's like, it's nice to be able to say, hey, yeah, I choose my child. Of course I do. But you can reframe it in a way and say, by choosing my career, I am choosing my son.
That is exactly how I see it. And I see it also as I'm choosing myself, which means the number one thing you can do to support a family structure is to support the mom. If the mom is happy and if the mom has economic resources, mom uses her happiness and her wealth to take care of the family, right? So that is what we need to do. Support the mom in the system, in the family unit.
Right. And this is proven through research over and over and over. The Gates Foundation.
I was just to say, Melinda Gates is showing up. And
her book, she talks about it at like, when you invest in a mom, you invest in a family, because the return on that investment is significantly higher than when you focus on, any other person in the family. So that's I appreciate you, reminding me how valuable that is.
Yeah. And I mean, in the throes of my depression, I know I wasn't I was the best mom I could be at that moment, but I know I wasn't attentive. I wasn't available, right? All the things. So if I am unhappy, I am unable to share my compassion, my love, my nurturing with my kids. And I hate that was the spot I was in. And I think as I'm saying these words, I think I'm being a little hard on myself because I know I did my best. And I know all the moms out there, again, I can't say that enough. All the moms out there are doing their best. With all the mistakes in the world, we're doing our best. It's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
I did want to answer your question about policy. Sure, maternity leave, breastfeeding rooms, all the things that are becoming a little bit more popular, which I think, yay, keep it up, keep doing that. But something that I'm seeing a shift away from, which I'm afraid of, is working from home or the hybrid schedule. I acknowledge that there are some managerial and logistics on full-time working from home. I know I benefited from having a hybrid schedule where Monday through Friday, I got to work from home. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was in the office. And here's what that did for me. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was part of the community. I was face-to-face. I was having the chit chat. I was building the community that was needed, right, for me to be effective in my job. I had the rapport with the people, right? I totally get that. And then Monday and Friday, I got my stuff done. I worked on my computer. I did the laundry. I worked on my computer. I picked up groceries. I worked on my computer and I meal prepped. I worked on my computer and I just got things ready for the weekend. Because in a weekend, as a mother, you do not rest.
Oh,
While the rest of the world might be Monday through Friday, working, and then Saturday, Sunday resting for themselves, watching Godfather 1, 2, and 3.
yes.
My weekends are far more exhausting than my workday. Because I am chasing, I am breaking up fights, I am hustling from soccer practice to baseball practice, I am dropping off the kids for swim, I am watching them swim, I am saving them from their dangerous decisions in the pool, the constant need, right? So it's just very exhausting. So if you added on to that, my weekend of just keeping my children alive, if you added on to that, laundry, grocery shopping, cleaning the house, getting the weekend prepped, I'm spent. I'm incapable.
Yeah.
So what you offer me as a working mom for having a hybrid schedule or allowing me to work from home is to, yes, work from home and be good at your job. I'm not saying slack off or take advantage. That is not what I'm saying, but to do your best in your working space and to take care of that domestic load that statistically falls on women, right?
Sure.
In a way where weekends can be a bit more restful. Sure. But even with my work from home, man, Sunday nights are my favorite. I'm like, yay, tomorrow we're all going to school and work.
No, I think you raise a really important point. So I launched my company August 6, 2022. And I asked everyone, like, what kind of place do you want to, what kind of company do you want to be a part of? And they said, we want to be 100% remote. We want to have unlimited PTO. And they're not in positions where they need to be working from 9 to 5 or 4 to 12. So it's all associated with, they know what they need to do. But so the hours don't matter. So it makes no sense whatsoever for me to force them to come into an office. So they're 100% remote. And just recently, we have new corporate offices, but those offices are not because they're required to come in. They're allowed to come anytime they want, whatever. But the point is they want that interaction and they want to connect with each other. So they are the ones who ask me, like, can we have a space where we can be creative together? And I said, yeah, sure. Anytime you want. And I, took some time, found a great space that works. And the whole point is that autonomy, it's respect. I mean, it's literally respect. And I think that this older concept where it's dated in that you have to watch your employees, you have to manage your employees. There's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. Yes. And the future is really focused on those leaders whose team is saying to them, hey, we want to come into an office, which I never thought would happen, and we want to work together. They're part of something bigger. It's not about their, output or managing. It's really like that inspiration and having a purpose in your career. So I do understand.
And I love that. And that gives you, I love what you said. It's respect and autonomy. I recognize this is privilege we're talking about, right? Because not all jobs can function this way, right? Certain jobs a school teacher has to be there at 7:15 because my kids will be dropped off with them at 7:30. And I'm so incredibly grateful for people that have, including my sister and my best friend and my sister-in-law. Hello, teachers. That's one of the most incredible jobs in the world. But when you can make it flexible, you are giving autonomy and freedom and just trust to a mother. And you know what I hate? I know this is so silly. It's so silly. But I hate having to tell my boss, hey, there's a school play today, so I have to leave at 3. I know my boss is going to be like, great, have a good time. They're not going to contest with that. But I don't want to have to tell you why I have to leave early today. I just want to do it because this is my function and I'm going to get the job done because I care about the job. The job's important to me. And also I have to be at this play at 3:30. Yeah. I'm not going to miss it.
Yeah. So in some of the research shows in the most elite schools in the United States, there's a difference in the way in which they educate children. So in those elite schools, children will not ask to go to the bathroom. And this is an excellent example of this. They get up and they go to the bathroom. in the schools, the worst schools in the United States, they have to ask to go to the bathroom. And they say that the rate of CEOs and, top producers, 1%ers are coming from those schools because at a very young age, they're treated with dignity and respect as something as simple as just asking to go to the bathroom. So what you're talking about is, like, in my mind, equivalent. Like, you don't need to tell anybody. You shouldn't need to. You're a mom. You're going to be there for your kid. Look, I got a thumbs up. Did you see that? This is not set up. I don't even know how to control my computer, apparently. But the timing is perfect. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, why should you? I have to go get groceries so I can feed my child. I need to make sure that we have food in the house. Yeah, I'm with you. And I really think in the next 5-10 years, like, this is what we have to look forward to, because people are going to start catching on, and more companies and organizations that understand this very basic level of respect will adapt to it.
Yes. And I want as many women, I want as many moms as possible to rise up in those ranks, because they're the ones that's going to make those policies, right? And that is why my mission is for the mothers that want to stay in the workforce and want to have a career and a family. I want to be their champion. I want to be their coach. I want to be right next to them in that journey. And I do need to say, Sadhna, that I also acknowledge that there are plenty of women that are choosing a different route, choosing a stay-at-home path. And those women are equally valuable in our society. They work 24 hours, 7 days a week. That is the hardest job in the world, I think. I really acknowledge that. And although Momentum, my company, is focused on career-focused women, I am not here to start any mommy war. If you are capable and willing and want to stay at home with your children, and I know that you are doing the right thing for your family, again, if you invest in the mom, you invest in the family. And with your focus being on leaders' voices, a mom is the leader of the house, right? A mom is the leader of the family. And the mom that chooses to stay at home, I hope it is a choice. I know sometimes it's economically more feasible for you to stay at home, but investing in those women are just as important, because they're the leaders of their families, and they're raising our next workforce, our next generation, our next citizens, our next voters. And cheers to all moms who are just freaking doing it. It's hard, man. It's so hard.
Shout out to all the moms who are killing it out there.
Woo!
Big bossing. Well, tell us, how can we follow you? How can we keep track of your incredible work?
Yay. Thank you. My website is momentumforworkingmoms.com. I'm open to have coffee, meet with anybody, virtual meetings. I look for it, and I have a bunch of different services, a bunch of different offerings on how we can work together. And I want to build a custom fit experience for individuals. So please reach out. My Instagram, I need to change it. I'll maybe work with you to figure out how to best do it. But I'm currently working like a mother at Instagram, and that's my go-to. And then, working like a mother. It's kind of my journal, my external journal to the world about how hard mothering is.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you on the show. And I love everything you're doing. And I'm honored to call you my friend. And anything, we can do to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you for sharing all this incredible work with us. I think that you are the future, and you're changing the future.
Thank you. So I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so grateful that our worlds collide. And I'm so grateful that you invited me to be on your platform. You're quite an inspiration. So keep it up, mama.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm Dr. Sadhna Bokhiria, and this is Leader Voices. This show is brought to you by the American Express Leadership Academy Alumni Network and leaderstories.org. Leader Voices is audio engineered by Robbie Ladd and produced by Creepandian team at OTVO Digital. Special thanks to Caitlin Johnson and Michael Chang. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.